So for those of you who are new, my name is Jeff Turcott. This is my wife, Kelly Kurtz. And we're sponsoring these free seminars for this population. Our business is Simply Well Seniors, if you don't already know. And our tagline is helping seniors navigate the journey to the next place they call home, even if the next place they call home is their home now. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is aging in place, staying in put, and whether it's the home you're living in today, or maybe it's your next forever home, or maybe the forever home after that. But whatever the forever home looks like, and whatever that is. So I want to thank Fidelity Bank for the use of the community room here in Leominster. So a little bit of housekeeping as well. As you came downstairs, you saw that there was restrooms. So if you leave this room and take a left, the restrooms are on the right as you need those. And we're going to try and get you out of here a little before 12. This is going to be interactive, we're hoping. So I didn't plant any questions to anyone. Maybe I should have, but please speak up.
Yeah. And we know a couple folks have said they need to leave early, so when you're ready to leave, don't worry, just go. And if you need to follow up with us later, you had questions that didn't get answered, you have our contact information. We'd love to follow up with you as well.
So before we bring the panelists up, oh, hey, look at that's fancy. Look at that. Ta-da!
Getting better and better every month.
The quality of the PowerPoint is getting better.
Yes.
So here's a few reasons.
First of all, one thing we'll just say, we had a full panel planned for you today, which our flyer said, but we had two of our panelists cancel one for a health reason and one for an issue with scheduling with their work. So we still have our shining star panelist, Donna, who we're going to introduce in a little bit, but we're going to still work with it and let it go, go with it the way that it is. And I think it's a good lesson because, as we'll talk about, sometimes you have a plan, and the plan you think is going to be your plan isn't the plan. So that's what's happening today, and that's going to be a lesson for all of us to figure out how to pivot and go on to the next road that works.
So I take it as it's quality over quantity.
Yes.
That's what we're sticking with
right.
today. So quality panelists. So here's a few reasons why people want to age in place or stay put. They say I'm just staying put, or we aren't moving no matter what. That's it. Don't even talk about it. We've already decided. Some people say this is the best place today and will continue to be the best place for me to live. Some of that might be true. It might be the best place for you to live today. Might not be in the future, but you could make it that. So it will be the best place for you to stay. We hear this, my spouse won't move, so here we are. This is a decision, that's it. And more and more, I can't afford to live anywhere else. Certainly if you have a home that there's no more mortgage, to be in a place where there is a mortgage or is there additional payments, that's a consideration as well. So, like Kelly said about plans, and we've talked about this before, about being, you can either be one of these two things, a variety of other decisions as well. You can be reactive and react to something that comes along you didn't consider. So we never thought we would live this long, so we didn't consider this might be a problem. Potentially, people are living a lot longer, which is good. We enjoy each other's company for a lot longer. But when that happens, as the population ages, their children are aging as well with them, and like we talked about last time, now there's grandchildren that are going to be in the mix here as well. So rather than being reactive, we always advocate to be proactive. Considering that we could live into our 90s, it's likely. It's more and more likely. And it's hopeful and it's desired, I think. Or we decide to make some adjustments or some plans now, just in case. And someone I know very, very well is very dear to my heart. She says, what if happens? Because it does. So when that what if happens, that you are prepared and you've made the adjustments and you made the plans for that.
And lots of people are living to be 100 or more. I mean, this generation of folks are living, some of our this generation's children are dying younger, but this generation is living well into their 90s and into 100. So it's planning a lot longer. We have a lot of connections with financial planners who say people are panicking, what if their money runs out, because they didn't expect to live as long as they are. So it's a whole changing atmosphere right now of longevity.
So today we have expert panelist Donna Farrow from Summit Elder Care, as well as Kelly Kurtz of Simply Well Seniors. Now, some things that you may not know about Kelly is that she is a licensed occupational therapist with 30 years of experience in the business before her and I started real estate together and this business together. So she has a lot of knowledge and a place where some other typical realtors may not have the information to be able to help this generation that we're helping. So I'll ask Donna to come on up and have a seat. And we're going to kind of. Would you rather that chair?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I just don't know which one is it.
This one's
You can
fine.
have a minute. How's that?
Yeah. This is how I envisioned it in my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's hope.
So some of the things we're going to talk about today: housing and home modifications, social connections. We'll touch upon transportation, as well as personal assistance and home care services. So we're going to start talking about home modifications. So the first part of the discussion, I'm going to ask you, Kelly.
Okay.
Being an occupational therapist for over 30 years, your extensive knowledge of home modifications and functional living environments. Mm-hmm. So can you share with us some things that people can do to successfully age in place or stay at home? And we realize that setting up your home to function safely is a big component of aging in place. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of the first things people should consider when they're thinking about aging in place long term is starting to look at their home kind of with a different set of eyes as you go through now, and thinking, if I were to walk around now all of a sudden with a walker or maybe a cane or maybe eventually a wheelchair, is my house set up to be able to function to the areas that I really need to get to? And there's lots of ways you can modify a house. There's certainly people use stair lifts, that if your bedroom happens to be on the second floor, there's companies that will install the chairs that slot, go up the stairs, things like that. If you're really thinking long term, most people aren't planning for a wheelchair, and hopefully most people won't need to end up in that at that point. But the bottom line is we're all going to get older, we're all going to age and need some assistance as we get older. So some of the things we like to look at and talk about now with our folks is thinking about if you really do not have a good accessible bathroom on your main floor, and you might have a half bath. A lot of folks have half baths on the first floor, main bath upstairs. Is there an opportunity to start thinking about modifying your bathroom now while you're still healthy, have good energy, your mobility is good? It's better to start planning for some of these things and think about it now than wait until an accident or event would happen. Maybe you have a fall down the road, or you break your hip, or you have a joint replacement, even elective surgery, and now all of a sudden you can't access your bathroom easily. That is not the time to say, oh my gosh, we should get someone in to remodel our bathroom. The time to do that or think about it is now, when you can make those good decisions. You can have time to interview a few different contractors and plan out the process. So we like to look at things like that. Bathroom accessibility is huge. We see, as working in healthcare, lots of people had commodes by the bed, but do you really want a commode to be your toilet for the rest of your life and have to be dependent on someone to come and empty that for you? So if you can access a better bathroom setup now, it's a good idea to start thinking about it. And when doing that, working with an occupational therapist or an aging in place specialist to help you with things like the comfort height toilets, which are automatically higher toilets, so that you don't end up having to put a seat on top of your toilet to raise it. If you're going to replace it, you go with a higher one to start. Maybe adding some grab bars in the bathroom. Looking at your shower, maybe get rid of the tub. A lot of people say they like to soak in the tub, but the reality is down the road, a lot of times it's really hard to get in and out of the tub. And we've seen, and Donna can attest to this, working at Summit, which is where I used to work with Donna, we often, rehab department got called all the time to help somebody who had fallen in the tub to get them up. And the last thing you can think of in your mind is you want to be naked in the tub and you fell, and now you've got 7 firefighters and 15 people standing around trying to grab you. It's horrifying. Nobody wants that. So when you think, oh, I'll wait and do the bathroom later, think about that and you go, let's get the bathroom done now, so we don't have to do that. It still could happen, but and then some other, I won't talk too long about it because I could do hours talking about this, but things like accessibility, getting in and out of your house. If you have a couple of stairs to get in, is it possible to have a small ramp that you could walk up with handrails? If you have doorways that aren't that wide, maybe think about, is there an option to do that? Not necessarily go through and change out your whole house, but start thinking about some of those things that might be more accessible for a wheelchair or walker. A lot of times we have people take a walker and just walk through the house with it and see, can I really get through all this furniture that's in my dining room or my kitchen? And it might just be an exercise in starting to think about, what do I really need and what can I get rid of now, downsize, of some of the things that I have that don't necessarily serve a purpose, but will make things safer. So some of those things are really important just to consider walking through. And as I mentioned, we could do an assessment walking through your house and make some recommendations as far as what things maybe you could change or modify in the future. But my biggest takeaway for you would be to plan early, to think about it now while you're able to, while you have maybe the finances to do it, you have the time to do it, and you're in the right mindset and physical mobility to be able to plan ahead successfully.
Anybody like to add anything or question?
Questions
Any
on
question for Kelly about that?
Yes.
I have a full bath downstairs.
Okay.
And I have a half bath upstairs. I only have one tub. I like the idea of changing that because it's a whirlpool tub.
Okay.
So it's deep. What is the resale value of a house without a tub?
So, good question.
Well, let's repeat the question.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, just so we have this videotape so other folks can watch it, was a half bathroom upstairs, or full bathroom upstairs, half bathroom with the full bathroom has the tub. What would be the resale value if you were to remove the tub and put in a walk-in shower? And as real estate agents, we are seeing that the tubs used to be really important, especially with people with young children. However, with people's busy lifestyles, we're finding a lot of folks, young parents, are using the small portable plastic kind of bins that they either put in their shower stall that the babies, the kids can go in, or even in the sink. And parents don't have time necessarily, which is kind of sad because bath time was always fun with the kids, but to really sit and do a bath with kids and let them play in the tub for hours. So to make a short answer to your question, we see that there's really not a disadvantage to taking out the tub. In fact, we did it in our house. We had a 3-bedroom house, and we turned it into a 2-bedroom, which is real estate, no, don't go from 3 to 2. And as 2 realtors, we said, we want a really nice bathroom. So we made one whole bedroom our bathroom, and we have a big shower, and it works for our lifestyle. And I think resale value, we're not really worried about it because it's accessible to all different levels. So I think the best advice would be to live, if you're gonna live in your house successfully, make it work for you. And when it's time to sell your house, the right buyer will be out there that will be looking exactly for what you've done. So,
Great.
yes. Yeah.
So I think I'll throw it over to you, Donna.
Sure.
And if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about you and your career path and where you've been and how you got here.
Okay, I'm embarrassing myself right now because when Kelly mentioned the horror of being in a tub and needing, it actually happened to me, and I haven't been in a tub since. And you're in a tub naked, and you don't expect company. And I have a hip that was replaced, and I'm very limber, and I used to pull my legs way up, and when I did, it came out. And I was in my tub, and luckily I had the phone next to me, and I called my girlfriend, sis. I was like, I'm actually dismembered, and I'm in my tub, and I'm in horrible pain. And she called the EMTs, and my home is not easy to access, and it was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing, and they couldn't get me out, and they kept trying to refigure out what to do, and it was not fun. So anytime I think of my tub, I just look at it, I clean it. I have like such like PTSD from that. Luckily, I have a sense of humor, so I really can laugh at it and know that it wasn't because I fell. It was an act that was fine for many years, and it just wasn't. When shaving legs, that whole thing. But, as an aging Italian woman, that's become like a lot less important, if anybody can relate. So I work for Summit Elder Care. I've been there since we opened in 2007. Does anybody, hands up, know of the place I'm talking about? The Pace Center, Fallon Health, Summit. It's right next to the movie theater in Leominster, Cinema Boulevard. And our program is it's the same premise, keeping people from having to live in a setting they don't want to live in. And primarily for us, it's nursing homes. To have your life end in a nursing home, we're in place to help that never happen. We have a multidisciplinary team. We have nurse practitioners, doctors, RNs, OTs, PTs, physical therapy, primary nursing. So we have anybody that joins our program gets a primary nurse, a provider, a social worker, and a panel that's lined up with each provider. And what our goal is always to get really intimately involved with the person and their caregivers to see how we can educate others how to help each other, and then also do what we can to keep the family from being too stressed out and wanting to place the person in a nursing home. So we've been doing a great job overall. A lot of times I think the hiccup has become more related to the home care piece of it. Since COVID, it seems like the scarcity of home care, like the agencies, even became more so after COVID, where we have a harder time with that. But we have a day program that we bring people in for the social piece of it. And if they're there, they get their medical care while they're there. We have a huge clinic that does like a little mini ER with blood work, EKGs, a lot of IVs. So we have a full center, and we are very much a program that the provider coordinates with all specialists involved. So we are, a lot of times in the community, you will go see a cardiologist, you'll see another specialist, and nobody talks to anybody. And our program has all of our nurse practitioners and doctors are geriatricians, so they're very familiar with the population. And our age goes from 55 and up. And you have to have enough things that are going wrong with you to join our program. So Mass Health and Medicare fund our program for many people. Those without Mass Health can still take advantage. It's just there's a monthly cost. But through Mass Health and Medicare, our program can cost a person absolutely nothing, and they get all the benefits of the insurance, everything I just mentioned, everything under our roof, and then the specialists, any skilled nursing time, or hospital visits, or ER visits, it's all covered under the program because of the relationship we have primarily with Mass Health, because Mass Health doesn't want people to end up in nursing homes because they end up being the primary insurance, and it's expensive. So our program is put in place to keep people from that being their outcome. So our percentages of nursing home people is very low, and it happens when there's no safe option other than nursing home. But we do explore everything else, including if I heard it mentioned, Jeff said that whether it's your forever home or your forever home down the road, we are always looking for community options that would eliminate the next forever home being a nursing home. Because we all know none of us want to live in a nursing home. And, I say none of us, there are those few that find they were living alone for so long and they're very social. And, sometimes you see somebody pop into a better space. But for most of us, we are happy to work with a program that helps people stay in the community. My background is I've been a social worker for many, many years. And I've been in this role since 2007. But before that, I worked in nursing homes as the director of social services. And I laugh because I kept trying to get people out, and they weren't happy with me because there were young people. It was a brain injury facility. And I found programs, the brain injury programs in the community, and would try to work with families to get people out. And they were like, Donna, that's like a $900 a day person. You just told them that we'd like to help them move out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm so sorry, but I am a social worker first. So when Summit came along and sent me this opportunity to be the manager there, it was keep people out of nursing homes, so what better fit? Because I do believe, the quality of our life it's everything, and I do a lot of work with people. I'm very passionate about aging wonderfully. I feel like every day that I have, it should be the best it can be, and that means taking care of my health, looking at all the things they mentioned, being proactive about life, and making sure, that I set up experiences that bring joy. And sometimes, like for somebody like me, just being alive and around people is very, very joyful. So
you talk quite a bit about, and we've touched on this in the past as well, about socialization and staying active and not just being at home, having someplace to go and that kind of thing. So I am familiar a little bit with Summit just from Kelly's experience as well. But tell me a little bit about, do people come to the day program? Do they come every day?
Yeah.
Do they come once a week? What's
question. So our social program is broken into 2 rooms. There are people that come to our program later in the progression of their illness, and a lot of times that's dementia. And so they may live with their family member that can't really stay at home all the time. So for people that are much more unsafe to be home all the time, they would be probably a better fit for, we have 2 different rooms. One's the Chapman and one's the Summit. The Summit is for those that are pretty much in the regular population. And the Chapman is for people who need more hands-on care. The room is smaller. It's more designed for the dementia population or other medical reasons where they can't feed themselves. And those people can come up to 5 days a week if that's what they need. Most people come about 2 or 3 days, but we do. So we've had people that join our program and don't want the day program. And then they get in by design. They come for the medical, they're there for lunch, they get social. And all of a sudden they're asking for like more time and more time because, for all of us, we're social human beings by nature. And when your resources, like you can't drive, the people that were your social group are no longer available, you're sitting at home in front of a TV and not really paying attention. Typically a lot of anxiety, concern about what's going on, and so you're sitting with bad, negative thinking a lot of times for like all day, every day. So when people come, first they're terrified because it's like, the first day at school.
Sure.
And or work, but they go sit down and somebody says, "You're in my seat." And I'm like, But people are like, they get kind of territorial, but we try to, reduce that as much as possible. But after the first day, and even if it's the first day, they had a nice meal. The staff was nice to them. They were seen, they were heard, they mattered, and they were not invisible. And as much as they might have to get used to the van, we have a van for people who can't get to the program and they're, with their own transportation. But we have all these services, and at first it's awkward, but when they start coming, they build friendships. And we have people that I've seen changes that just make me cry, because there's like a miracle when you see somebody light up, because all of a sudden they're like looking in their closet to see what they're gonna wear. And my mom was one of those people who was very isolated, extremely isolated. I never even knew she had a personality, quite frankly. And I had to wait till her, because a lot of times, it's hard to make all these big sweeping changes with your insurance, your provider, So I didn't pursue it until 2012, when she was at Reliant, and Fallon Senior was her medical insurance, and they lost the contract. So Reliant wasn't an option for her anymore, but through Summit it was. So but I was so nervous, because she was such a homebody, and I'm like, the driver's gonna come and he's gonna put this belt, it's called a gate belt, just loosely around you, so in case your leg buckled, they would be able to keep you from falling. And all of these things, it meant nothing. She had no problem with it. A lot of times we see the person as they were, and see that person doing all these new steps and get fearful because we know who they were. But my mother was so open to it, and it became like they were calling me, because she was at a different summit, and the one in Worcester, and they would say, "Your mother's such a hoot." I'm not even kidding. Like, that wasn't even a thought I'd ever have, that she was funny, because I never saw that, So all I know is, whatever social programs, people may balk, but when they really come, it's like a world opens up where they're engaged. There's trivia. There's different ways that they get the brain back, firing up again. So I love our day program. I think it changes people's lives in a huge way.
And it's nice because it's the day program, so you go and you can go home. You're not living there. So you look forward to coming, like Donna's saying. So I saw lots of great stories there as well, of people just interacting, connecting with people they knew from their past life. All of a sudden they see someone that they used to work with, or someone that they knew from church or something. And so a lot of new friendships have developed from it. And it really is a wonderful program that embraces the mission of aging in place, because that is, as Donna said, the number one objective is to keep you in your home until you take your last breath, if it's possible. And that's what you want.
I wanted to touch a little bit upon, you talked briefly about caregivers. So caregivers being a spouse, or a son or a daughter, or maybe even a niece or a nephew, and maybe that person is in their home, and they're living in the home, and the home is safe as long as there's somebody else there. But if that caregiver is having to go to work, then the safe place is a day program. Yeah.
And we have caregivers that aren't that needed, people that just check on somebody. A lot of our folks do live alone, and if you saw them, you'd question it. But we are very big on, if a person has the ability to make their own decisions, even if they're not what other people would see as safe, I totally support it, because I feel like for me, I understand you want quality over quantity, and if a nursing home sounds like, I've seen people have no other choice but go to a nursing home, and a lot of times it's not a long stay, and if they fall in their home, we try to reduce any kind of risk. But if a person says, I'd rather fall in my home than live in a nursing home, we do the best we can to keep that person as safe as possible, and we honor their wishes of living. And sometimes we can look at the next community-based home, but again, we honestly are very respectful of looking at the whole situation and making sure we don't try to put safety over quality if that's not the person's goal. We work on goals of care with the individual. They get to decide, unless when they come to us, they're not in a position to make decisions anymore. We will always talk to the family and make sure that the plan of care is created around their goals.
So when speaking with the family, is it necessary for the family to be local, in-state?
Oh, no.
Okay.
And some people in our program don't even have families. Some people, we can't even get a healthcare proxy because they have nobody. They're, lone people who do not have anybody that's even involved, family members, fractured families, no connection. And then we have families that are very robust, they live locally. We have people that manage beautifully from California and other countries even, because there's some people there, and maybe the health, so it's not required that you have a caregiver even, because we take people, if we take a person and we know when they join our program, we always want families to take their loved one to medical appointments. And if they, if that's what they were doing when they joined, that's what we continue to request. But if they functionally change to now they can't get in the car because of a wheelchair or modifications in their ability, and then we will accept that as our role. But when somebody comes in without any of those things, we know right away that we're everything to that person, and we accept that. So everybody comes in differently. We have people with very high financial portfolios, and we have people that have nothing. And it doesn't matter. The program is not on a mission to keep people only that have very little income. Our program is, like I said, it's funded by Mass Health, but if you guys have heard of the 5-year look-back window, so in our program, people do not have to worry about what they have in their portfolio when they join. They work with our Mass Health experts to get all the documentation that what they look to do is move any, so if you have like a $300,000 annuity, they will direct on how to get it out of your name and how to change things so that the portfolio has no real assets other than what is basically the only thing you can have with Mass Health is the $2,000 asset limit. But you can, those things are not what you just have to show the paper trail for how you relocated funds.
So I'm glad you brought that up. In May, we're going to be having a seminar about estate planning and wills, trusts, and those kind of things. We'll have a panel as well. We're going to book 6 people for that panel. So
3 show up,
we're
golden.
gonna
We have a question.
Question.
Yeah, I thought they just relaxed some of those asset rules. Some guy told me that like within the last week.
For Summit or for
For
PACE
all
or
of them.
everywhere?
For all of them. He's on some kind of Medicare supplement, extra help, all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs out there to help with people that, but I don't know, that's not my lane to talk about Mass Health, but Mass Health still has a 5-year look-back window. So if we had somebody that left our program, disenrolled, to go back to go to another nursing home, they would be fully assessed with a 5-year look-back window.
So that's going to be a great question. The question being whether or not they've relaxed.
People look into it, because this guy is retired out of MIT, he's not stupid. And he said they just got rid of asset. He could own the Taj Mahal. He said.
Okay.
Wow, that's
All right.
good. Good to know.
It sounds like we're moving in a good direction.
Right.
then.
Yeah, that's good.
That's very common, that even with the 5 years, you can own 2 Taj Mahals.
Sure.
Yeah, so my point was just saying that it doesn't matter if you have money or not. The program has a benefit to everybody, and there's so many ways we help the people, to have the services through one organization, and it becomes like extension of your family, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Kelly was an amazing OT at our place. We miss her so much, but she did so many other things even there that were beyond her scope of practice.
So thank you very much, Donna. So I wanted to ask, and this is a question for both panelists. So what are some red flags when aging in place might not be the best solution?
Well, I think first of all, some of the things that we see or we hear about is, especially if folks are more isolated and they don't have someone checking in on them regularly or someone that can kind of be your sounding board to start to notice some of the things like rotting food in the refrigerator, weight loss, noticing that, not taking your medications, not picking them up at CVS, calling, and incidents with the car. Maybe, the car now has a big gash down the side and no one really knows what happened. Things like that. So some subtle changes, weight loss, hygiene. You're starting to notice your person may start to have a little bit of body odor or maybe smells like urine because they're more incontinent or falls. Things like that are subtle changes that somebody who hasn't seen you in a little bit might say, oh my goodness, I saw so-and-so, I can't believe how different they look. They lost a lot of weight, or they just didn't look themselves, they're unshaven. So they can be subtle, but they can be big changes too for someone that hasn't seen them. So those are some of the red flags that we start to see. Mail piling up, bills piling up on the counter, trash not being taken out, or just a lot of clutter in the house, things like that. So kind of a disruption in regular daily routine.
Yeah. So the lethargy and the change, especially if they're people that were very organized and you see extreme changes. For us, I can look more at a summit. Like, we take people in the community, like I said, they could have no caregiver, but they have to, the only requirement is that they're not unsafe and without supports. Like if somebody has dementia, and that's everybody has different ways that presents, and if a person has the dementia and they're leaving their home, they're walking because they always walked and now they can't find their way back, and we can't be in there 24 hours. So if there's no support and somebody is at that extent of their progression, it's not, our program wouldn't be right, because we can't keep that person safe. And a commitment of Summit is that we are responsible for the people in our program 24 hours a day, whether they come to the program or not, 7 days a week. So we are accountable for if you have a fall in the home. We have to provide a whole series of documents to the state. Everything is very much managed with the idea of safety as far as that extreme level. But like what Kelly was saying, you can see the changes, and you can just see when somebody's not themselves. And then what do you do about it, I guess, would be, I think that's when there's some red flags. And for the car, we see sometimes kids know that their loved one is got some dents on their cars that weren't there, and they know that there's an overall concern that they may be getting in accidents and may not be appropriate for driving anymore. But there's so many reasons why nobody wants to take that on. You don't want to tell your parent they can't drive anymore. For two reasons. First, it's heartbreaking, and the second means you're going to have to step up and be more involved. And so I see a lot of people that just say, it's only little things, No, there's a full-on fender missing there, So I know it's really tough to be in the place that, moving is the next generation of people that are in this space. But it's also having, it's really hard to be in the place of having somebody that we're currently trying to navigate all the concerns with too.
Some of the things that you could do in that situation, we have resources for people that help with driving that can take you to doctor's appointments if you weren't part of Summit. If you're with Summit, and as Donna mentioned, they can help with all of those things. You can come to the clinic. But if you're staying in your home and you need to get to a doctor's appointment, we have private companies that will come pick you up. They can accommodate wheelchairs. They can take you in your car, in their car, things like that. Some of the other things we might notice is nutrition. We talked about losing weight, but meal prep is a big one for folks that are living alone and aging in place, to think about down the road what kinds of what kind of help or support you'd have with getting meals. We find a lot of folks are buying a lot of frozen dinners, prepackaged stuff, which tends to have a lot of sodium, a lot of fat, and a lot of junk in it. So we start to see people losing weight and just not feeling healthy because they're not eating fresh fruits and vegetables, because they're only getting to the grocery store maybe once a week, maybe once a month. They're eating a lot of canned soups, a lot of processed food. So
Junk.
those are things we have some resources too in helping with getting fresh food into your house. But there's so many things we could talk about, but there's so many facets on like a big wheel of all these components that when they're working well together, they work well. But when one piece or two pieces are off skew or missing, that's when things can go downhill quickly.
So, to summarize what you're saying is that, things to consider are, if you're living in a community that has transportation available, public transportation available, services available close, and you decide you're not going to drive any longer, that those are available to you. But if you're in a community that doesn't necessarily, you do have to drive everywhere, consider how you are going to get to those services, grocery store, doctor's appointments, those kind of things. Or possibly in your plan, you may decide to move to your next forever home, which is more accessible to other services and has the services available
Absolutely.
that way.
Yeah, I think I think what most people would benefit from is, like, first they have to be open to it, but to organize for, to navigate, like to be a navigator, to kind of like, if there is somebody that you know that they need these services, whether it's the meals, the medications, if everything is just seeming like they're going downhill because they're not living correctly, to get those things, like there are individual services that'll help, and there's there's programs like ours. But it is important. The one thing I can say is we've seen people that they've gone into nursing homes because they're imminently dying, and they have the family would prefer to sit sit vigil and not have to do the care. So. But what has happened many times where we thought people were dying, they go in a nursing home, they start getting nutrition, they start getting the meds, they start getting so much. They're all of a sudden like back. And so it really shows how much those individual pieces, like how it makes, it all makes a difference, how people manage their meds. And a lot of times it's med management that you could see is they're not taken as prescribed or not at all. And so when you see how much it makes a difference when people are literally feeling like they're coming back from the dead, it does show how important it is to keep those systems in place or to act quickly.
Yeah, some of the most creative work I did as an occupational therapist was while I was at Summit, because they thought outside the box as opposed to any nursing home that I ever worked in. They thought of every way, how can we get someone to take their meds? They used to supply these like robot type machines where they would be pre-filled and the buzzer would go off and the cup would fall down and your medicine would be in it. And then that's time to take my medicine. So you couldn't over-medicate because it was only at intervals.
And it tells you, right?
And it tells you.
It would say, it's time to take your meds.
Yeah, so those kinds of things where the average person couldn't afford one of those machines, Summit says if we get this machine in and they take their meds, they can continue to be home longer. So there's lots of really neat things.
Yeah.
We used to have different kind of monitoring systems to tell. We did some pilot work with a company to tell how many times someone would get up in the middle of the night. And so we could tell if they usually get up twice, and now the monitor says they're getting up 6 times. Okay, red flag, do they have a UTI starting? Is something else going on? Are they in pain? So it would start to alert the medical staff to start getting on something really quick. So before the fall happens or before something big happened, somebody's kind of watching in a sense to see what's going on. So it's
It's
good.
not intrusive though.
No.
They're told that this is.
Yes.
We're not bugging people's
Yeah.
homes and
No.
getting the data
But
and
you
just
sign
sitting
up,
there
you
going.
sign up for it, or if
Yeah,
it's-
you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
But if it's the if
yeah.
it's the case of staying home and doing that versus going to a nursing home, there's so many creative ways that we can't even talk about all today because it's just so much. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's true. We do
Okay.
have a lot of ways that we all have to think out of the box. I mean, we've had machines that take people downstairs, and hey, it's just now with the technology too that
much.
some of the OT are coming back to the team with some really far-fetched things that
Yep.
we'll do anything or we'll try for sure.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask if anyone else has any questions or any comments that anybody wanted to bring up to Kelly or Donna. Yes, sir.
I have a question for Donna. This is not, you mentioned this and it got me thinking, and you made a statement that had to do with safety versus quality. I have a situation right now where I have a 94-year-old father-in-law and a very nervous wife. I think he should continue to do everything that he's doing because it's keeping him going. He drives, he cooks healthy meals, he keeps his house reasonably clean. He was out trimming bushes yesterday, and my wife said, "Oh my gosh, what if he falls? He's got to she's so nervous about him doing things, and I think let him do what he wants to do as long as he can do it. He hasn't really got dementia. He's pretty sharp.
Pretty impressive.
I checked this guy for dents, and he only had one, and I understand what happened because he parked next to a phone pole at Market Basket with the big cement
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
He didn't see it, and he said, "Oh, I can pull out forward." So I teased him. I said, "What happened there?" He had this sheepish look, but that to me wasn't. I mean, I could have easily done the same thing. If you can't see those things when you're in the car,
Right.
and they go out about
Yeah.
2 feet around the post.
Right.
So I just, I said to my wife, let him be, let him be.
Yeah.
Now he has come to the conclusion that he thinks it's time to sell the house
Okay.
in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
She wants him to come to live with us.
Mm-hmm.
Our house is not, we have a 3-bedroom ranch also, so it would be a privacy issue.
Mhm.
And he's gonna be right in the next bedroom.
Yeah.
We could modify the bathroom. Our bathroom has a walk-in shower, but the one that he would be using is a tub shower, which probably, and I agree with you, because I'm a realtor also, and I think the bathtub is not a real critical thing.
Right.
I can't imagine
that's
somebody
good to know.
not buying a house that they otherwise love because it doesn't have a bathtub. So we could do something like that, but I'm not sure. I'm thinking maybe he would do better if they could get help. I know that's not what you're talking about, but that would be an interesting, maybe you already had a session on that.
Well,
What you could do, somebody to could come and live with him,
Yep.
a college student, or,
Yeah.
something like that, because he's very independent.
Sure.
It's just nice to have somebody there. He only lives a mile and a half from us, so we see him every day. He comes over with a newspaper.
Ah.
You can always post those things on I used to tell people to go to Fitchburg University and just see if there's a board or something that you could say, free room and board, just this, and people have found caregivers that have worked for the home, to have board and have been able to do that in some cases. But I think you're absolutely right. And your wife, people get nervous because, I've noticed up through the years, it's always the same thing. It's like they're afraid something happens and they're watched. Oh my God, if this happens and I didn't stop it because I let this be okay. It's really the personal journey of that person, feeling like the load of something bad happening while I knew it was happening. And I always say liberate yourself from that, because things are going to happen in nursing homes everywhere. And if that man is doing these things, I'm so glad that he is able to, because to have full capacity of cognition and be in a place where he has this quality of life which one of us wouldn't want that, you know? And younger people are they're just afraid. Like the first thing I hear when somebody my parent doesn't know who I am, I'm like, they can't verbalize your name, but they know who you are sometimes. And they're not, that doesn't mean they need to live in a nursing home. It's just like people don't have a breadth of knowledge what's in between where they are and that level of care. So a lot of times it's just a lack of education around the dementia process, and in some cases it's just a lack of understanding, and they're trying. They just don't have, nobody comes to life and gets a full-on education around some of the roles that we end up taking on as, you know, aging adults. So.
And plus he's so familiar with his home that if you were to take him to your home, now that could be more confusing and disrupt his routine enough that could prompt some kind of a change for him. So the fact that you're so close by and you check on him regularly and he seems to still be doing good, I think he could definitely continue where he's at. And if something were to happen, you're not that far and you're going to discover it sooner than someone who lived in California who's calling once or twice a week.
Right.
That's
So,
a success story
it
for
is.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, even if something
And
happened.
I tend to agree with you. I think he should stay there as long as he
Yep.
possibly can. Now
Yep.
his laundry is downstairs.
Okay.
We noticed he's starting to, in tight spaces, he shuffles. That's
Yeah.
something new. But when he gets out on the trail, I mean, he'll go out for a 2-mile walk.
Wow.
But once he gets out in the, you know, but
Yeah.
for some reason in the house, I don't know why, when he's in a
Yeah.
tight space, he really.
So stairs
yeah.
can be tricky. What you could do, one way around it, you could say, Dad, for
right.
Father's Day, we're getting you laundry. We're going to have a girl come in once a week and she's going to do your laundry for you. And treat it as a gift, not
Yeah.
saying you can't go down the stairs anymore, but now we're going to do this for you. And leave your laundry basket in the bathroom and she's going to do it, and then eliminate maybe
Yeah.
the need to go down the stairs.
Yeah,
Because
I would-
a fall down the stairs could be the end for a lot of us.
But he does have a tub shower.
Okay.
Still navigating it.
Yeah.
He does have some grab bars.
Okay.
He did move his bedroom from the second floor, converted the dining room to his bedroom. And
Yeah.
he doesn't have a bathroom on the second floor anyway. His house was built in 1852, so the stairs are like,
Yeah.
that's right, and the
Right.
steep, so.
Yeah.
He doesn't go up, he doesn't go up, he goes downstairs, because he used to have a wood shop down there. He
Okay.
was making all kinds of woodworking things, but
Yeah.
the other day, he said it's time to sell, so some nice young man came and bought all his tools. It was a very sad day. But he realizes that, now he's kind of realizing that things are changing.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to push it.
Yeah, he sounds like he's on
Yeah.
board with it. Like
Right.
he's modifying his lifestyle
To work
because
around it.
he's seeing it as something he needs to do.
Right.
A lot of times people in general, like, they see a walker and they think, oh, I've arrived, I hate my life, you know? And I would say use the walker, because using the walker, you won't fall and end up living in a wheelchair. People are so, it's the ego, it's the vanity, it's the fear of feeling like you're even more invisible, all the things that ageism puts in our heads. But, you know, to me, those are like modified lives so that you don't take big risks, because just not using the basement to do laundry is a way that he can continue using the spaces that are safe. Yeah,
Yeah, or you could move the laundry upstairs too.
He could be a social worker, he's
He's
smart.
He's my inspiration, and I'm not that far behind him in age, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, I don't want my kids telling me when I can spell.
They could try.
Yeah.
You gotta just fight back, and, honestly,
They could try.
because
Yeah, he's remarkable.
Yeah,
He's really
he's-
remarkable.
Excellent.
he's a
Good.
success story right
And
now.
his sister is just as good, she's 98.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Great genes in that
There
family.
is.
You married good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
Does anyone else have anything else they want to add? Maggie?
I've got a couple questions. I'm not ready to come to the daycare thing yet, but I'm finding that, I'm still in my home, and there's some things that are getting more difficult. There's a lot of management that goes with, the lawns and this, and
Yes.
this house needs to be repaired, and all these things, and I'm just tired. And is there a resource hub that is out there for when you need community services, like finding the resource people.
Mhm.
How do you find the person to help with this, or the laundry, or this or that? That are still, you know, they're minor, but they're becoming
Mhm.
things that is like, you just can't do it all.
Mm.
I think home care agencies, you know, as much as we as a summit program have a difficult time anymore contracting for home care in some cases, when a private person probably enlists those same services from the agency, they may have better outcomes. So there are like visiting angels and like a lot of different places where you can have them give you an idea of what the charge would be and how you want to like create the plan. Like if you want them to come once a week and do the heavy lifting stuff, you know, like the strip the beds and whatever it is. And then as far as transportation, I know in this area there's MART and there is what's this car service too?
Yeah,
that-
JK Sunshine Services. He does the
Yeah,
transportation.
yeah. And also, even if you took an Uber, I mean, there are ways to not have to drive that you can, you know, we can elevate our game and get more technical and try to find resources. But yeah, there are ways to look at what your needs are and to see where you can get some help. And it sounds like landscaping is your yard and stuff. That's why I went to a condo. I was like, I am not the person that ever wants to do yard work, but
Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
like watching it.
So
I like looking at beautiful lawn.
we do have some good resource people that Jeff and I have vetted and trust
Yeah.
that are also social workers that are geriatric case managers, care managers that know a lot of people that they've worked with. So if you're looking for something specific, please feel free to reach out to us and we can try to connect you with somebody that we know is doing the right thing for seniors. So there's a lot of scamming going on. There's a lot of people that just know your
Right.
age. They see you and they go, look at their house.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we can do this or do that. So we always like to refer people that we know and know good things about. But in terms of maintenance and things on the house, I was going to say that before, but I've lost my train of thought. As far as aging in place, if you plan to stay at your house another 10, 20, well, however many years, things are always only going to get older on the house. The roof, the furnace, say the driveway, the lawn care, the snow plowing, all those things are going to become expenses most likely. So if there's things in your budgeting that you want to look at now, maybe it's time to start thinking about replacing the roof now versus waiting another 10 or 15 years when you really need the money you have left to maybe help with some private care and your roof is leaking or falling apart, or you're you've got a lot of land that now it's going to be really unmanageable. Maybe you think about that forever home to be a little different than what you were thinking today, that it's going to be that home. It might very well be, but it might be something different. Not any decisions have to be made today or tomorrow, but just to start thinking about it, I'm going to pay somebody, but what if the snowplow person that you pay to get you, snow plowed out doesn't come for whatever reason, and that's the night you fall, unfortunately, whatever, and you need to go to the hospital, and now the ambulance can't get down your long driveway, or you're way off in the woods and you're in a situation too far away from somebody's not checking in on you. Those are kind of situations not to scare anybody, but to think about, because it's all of us that could happen to. So just trying to think of the what ifs and planning the best you can for your situation and setting up some of these things in place now for when you do need them. Then you feel more at ease with how your planning will go, because you're ahead of the game. You're being proactive instead of reactive.
Rather than reactive.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps with self-esteem if you're like taking the initiative to
And you're
do
in
those
control
things.
of it.
You just
Yeah.
feel like, wow,
I'm in charge
I don't
of
have
this.
to have people tell me. I'm doing this because I see it as something that has
Right.
value. And that makes us feel better. And when as we get older, we always want to feel better about something, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. All right. So just anyone else want to add anything? Okay, great. So just to wrap up,
Well, I was just thinking one thing, I'm sorry. Is there anything that you hope to get today that we didn't talk about? Because I know when you just see the topic, you might be thinking, oh, I wish they talked about this. if there's anything like that that you are hoping, maybe we can answer those questions or whatever other questions you have. But we're happy to, whatever you need. Yeah.
I don't want to hog the discussion. Because I know you have a program and you announce it ahead of time, this is my first time here, so I have no idea what, I had heard Maggie had recommended that I come.
We're
and
glad you
so
did.
I did, and Steve and Debbie also mentioned it, so I said, oh, 2 people have said it was good. But I have a cousin that's contemplating a move, and I guess the thing is, unloading a big house and going to live with a daughter. The services that are out there available, I'm a realtor, but I don't know what I know there's people that come in and do auctions, they have estate sales, all that kind of thing, but you probably have a list of reputable people that come in and help us, an older person that's
do
wants
it,
to downsize.
Yeah, we actually that's our
That's our
specialty.
specialty.
Oh, that's your
Yeah,
specialty.
you can
Right.
talk a little
We
bit
can-
about
and,
that.
and we can certainly talk more after.
Yeah.
So the question is about downsizing and just rehoming. We like to call it rehoming possessions. Rather than just
They're good at it too.
call the 30-yard dumpster and back it up. We can talk more about that, and we've been specializing in that in the past couple of years, doing just that. It's so easy to say, I can't live here anymore. I don't want to live here anymore. I want to live with my daughter. I want to live with my son. That's great. That's a great decision. That's a great place to start. But what happens between that decision and walking out, closing the door behind you? There's so many things that happen, and where do you even start? So we become very, very efficient about
Yeah.
it. And
We've
we can-
become project managers really to oversee the whole process from initiation all the way to the closing table. And so that's what we're finding has been very helpful to our clients, to be able to be the contact person, the hub of all those services, and bring our vetted people in and work with them and be there every step of the way so that we know everything is going on schedule. And if it goes off schedule, how to get back on schedule. And we're overseeing it, so we're able to manage it much better than just farming it out to all random people. Kind of like with your care, you got the cardiologist, you got an endocrinologist, you got a primary care, and nobody's talking to each other, and so nobody really knows what's going on. We're the people that know what's going on, so we help make the transition smoother for our folks.
I've recommended that for a family in our program, and they were really so happy with the outcome. Yeah. I think it's a great service because I feel like that has been so much a big problem for people like going into assisted, and they don't have anybody that's going to help move. So that whole coordination of those services is wonderful.
Yeah, we'd be happy to talk more about it afterwards. So great.
Another quick question on feedback. Does anyone feel it's important to have snacks at these events? We bring the water, but we were saying no on the food, but everybody's good without it? You weren't expecting it? Okay. Yes.
You're buying?
We're going. Okay.
Okay, just quickly, just to wrap up, so a lot of things I've heard, I wrote down some things, and one thing that really resonated with me, what Donna said, is modify your life to successfully age in home and live your best life today. And I oftentimes, you ask people, was today a good day? And I'm sure after they left the day program, most of them would say, yeah, today was a good day. So then tomorrow, we'll see what tomorrow brings as well. The other thing being thoughtful about transportation and about when it's time to seek other options and those kind of things. So can you give me 1 or 2 suggestions or strategies to help folks age in place? 1 or 2.
Write down kind of your goals or your objectives of what you really want to see the rest of your life look like, and then try to make them bigger goals, but then try to work on some things you might need to do to make all those things become a reality, to as much control that you have. That's what I would say, is to plan. Be proactive and plan ahead and really think of what you'd like your life to look like, and how can you facilitate today some small steps to make that a reality?
And I would say, because like personally, what I feel so important in my own life is like living with a ton of arthritis everywhere, like, you know, lots of orthopedic stuff. Motion is lotion, you know. I think I'm preaching to the choir, but like it's so important to stay moving. You know, I see people in our program and their anxiety so high, and they're my age, and they're walking so gingerly and afraid of every step. I walk with confidence. I walk like paying attention. I don't daydream. Just like what we can do as a human being to take care of ourselves, to not be going downstairs and thinking about something that's pissing you off, you know, to kind of like just stay focused and with intention, move with intention and move. Because I do feel like it saves my life every day. It's better than medication because you build tolerance and then that doesn't work. But if you just keep moving, those joints are happier. And if we're happier and our body's in better shape, then we're going to live longer in the homes we're in. So that's all I got.
Great. So just quickly before we go, next month we're going to be having a panel of folks from local assisted living communities here in the Leominster and Fitchburg area. That's on April 10th, right back here. And on May 8th, as I teased, estate planning, trust, wills, and guardianship will have a panel of attorneys and estate planner, and hopefully we'll keep it lively. We'll pick some lively attorneys
Yes. Yes.
to do. So thank you very much for everybody joining. Let's give Donna and Kayla a big
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for what you're doing.